Yeah, I know, bit of a mad start to it, to be fair. I was hoping to sort of switch off, but ended up heading out to Hong Kong and then North Carolina for TST with obviously Wrexham Women. So, you know, an unbelievable experience, pretty different, you know, something that I never thought I'd be able to take part in, you know, walking out in Hong Kong in front of a few thousand and fans in the stadium singing, you know, Wrexham Lager song. It was ridiculous. So something I'll never forget, and obviously something I'm very grateful for.
And Andy, it seems like yesterday that we were stood just up there celebrating after Charlton. In 3 months come 9 brand new players, a new pitch, so much change, so many talking points. How are you feeling looking ahead to the new season?
Yeah, so excited. It's been so long, hasn't it, at this level? But just looking forward to the season. Like you say, the 9 players coming in has really just stepped the standard right up. And it'll be interesting to see how we go. You know, the Southampton game, we were really unlucky at the end. I thought we were really good first half and maybe ran out of a bit of energy. But then a full 11 changes, which is what he's got here at the minute for the whole game. And again, a strong performance, looking like we were going out, and up pops Ollie Palmer, and you're back in the game, and you end up winning the game. So, yeah, he's got strength and depth now, and he's got big, important decisions to make, maybe before the window shuts in at the end of August as well.
Yes, that squad that's going to be announced on the 1st of September. Only 25 names, of course, to go in it. We will talk later on about who might be some of the marginal calls in that. So much to talk about on Matchday Live. And you can tag us this season at Wrexham_AFC on all the social networks. So please get in touch throughout. We'll be here, of course, pre-match at half-time and again at full-time. So we touched with Phil Parkinson in that interview on his starting 11 for this afternoon. Let's have a look at full confirmation of the Wrexham side, because as Parkinson was saying to us, just the one change from the starting 11 who were deployed at Southampton last Saturday. Liberato Kachatse's injury means James McLean comes back in at left wing back, so it's 3-5-2 again. Kiefer Moore makes it. The injury he picked up at Southampton looked like it might mean he would be spending some time on the sidelines, but great work from the medical team at Wrexham have got him fit for action today. On the bench, Tom O'Connor and Jacob Mendy get their first chances of a taste of League One action, and that sees Harry Ashfield and George Evans drop out of the Matchday 20. Mia, your thoughts on the selection?
Yeah, first of all, delighted to see Kiefer Moore back in, well, still in, you know, in terms of league starting 11, because I was really worried when I first saw the replays on that, when he's sort of kicked into the ball at the same time as his opposite man, that, you know, his foot and his ankle didn't look in great shape. So delighted to see he's all good to start, because I think that for me, he had to be the one today against a really tough opposition back two in terms of Phillips and Campbell. So I'm delighted to see him, and then obviously Kakache is a bit of a miss, but you know, someone like James McLean coming in, it's not a bad replacement. But you know, looking at that Southampton game last week, I thought if you were looking at it defensively, there was a reason why Southampton were attacking more down Ryan Barnett and Max Cleworth's side, because they were having more joy down that side. I thought Kakache and Lewis Brunt were probably the more solid from the back line.
And Andy, you talked about the selection dilemmas that Phil's got and the choices he's got. Ollie Palmer comes off the bench in midweek, scores twice, turns the game on its head. He can't make the bench.
Yeah, these are the decisions, unfortunately, the tough decisions that managers have to make when you've got such a thorough and deep squad that like Phil Parkinson has got. I think that's a really tough decision. I thought if Kiefer Moore wasn't fit, I think Ollie would have been on the bench, because he just gives you that sort of battering ram, the idea of the big man
and
up,
maybe
up
Smith
front,
start.
And maybe, a little change to it. But now Kiefer's gone straight in and stayed. It's a pleasant surprise for me, because I thought it was going to be a couple of weeks minimum that he was out. It makes Ollie Palmer a little bit more redundant, if you like, but he's still here, and I'm sure he'll be cheering on the lads just as much as anybody else, and until he leaves the building, he's still a part of this squad, and he's still pushing for a place in the 25.
And West Bromwich Albion, Andy, they just make one change this afternoon. Hegum, their star centre-half, sold to Bologna in midweek for $9 million, so he drops out. Campbell drops in. West Brom are established fair at championship level. They were 9th last year, drew a lot of their games, but they've got one or two issues financially behind the scenes, which is needing them to trim that squad a little bit, and I think that exit this week wouldn't have been one that ideally Ryan Mason would have had to have signed off on.
No, but they've brought in Billick from Birmingham in the week as well, which is probably a replacement for the outgoing player. But yeah, I think Ryan Mason's got his own issues and tribulations, if you like, as a first-time manager going in, because he's got players that necessarily don't want to be here, that maybe in the Premier League 3 or 4 years ago with West Bromwich Albion and are wanting out. So he's got different issues ahead of Parkinson, who's just being able to just spend and bring in. So it's really interesting. I think it's be a good time to play West Brom as well, just early in the season, and hopefully with those things going on still in the window, we can take advantage today.
Well, let's have a little bit of a further look at the battle of the dugouts this afternoon, because Phil Parkinson and Ryan Mason really represent two ends of the managerial spectrum. Parkinson in his 1026th competitive game this afternoon as Wrexham manager. For Ryan Mason, well, that figure is a heck of a lot smaller. It's his second competitive match in charge of West Brom in the league. He's also had one Carabao Cup match, of course, but previously he had been acting manager at Tottenham Hotspur a couple of times. He's only 34, Mia, against Phil's ripe old age of 57. But very much a contrast between this kind of new breed of young managers. We saw Will Still, of course, at Southampton last week, and someone with Phil's vast experience and history of promotions. How do you think that might change how the team's set up and the tactics we see today?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much it will necessarily change, but I think if you sort of look off pitch, I think it's just a massive plus in terms for us as a club completely, you know, looking at that experience that obviously Phil brings and his backroom staff bring, but as well as, you know, even looking at some of the signings we've made, the likes of Josh Windass, Connor Cody, Danny Ward, all with just so much wealth of experience, and that's what we needed to add to this squad this year, and I think, you know, that's something that will hopefully hold us in good stead going forward. And, you know, you look at people like Ryan Mason and Will Still, two really exciting managers that I think are going to go on to do great things, but might not necessarily at the moment have some of that experience that in certain games, you know, whether that be, you know, in the next few weeks or coming months ahead in this championship season, might cost them.
And as a first-time job for Ryan Mason, really a full-time job, he's got a difficult one, because he'll have players that don't want to necessarily be there, and to deal with that, as well as bringing in his own type of players to try and settle the culture in a different new way, or his way, in the changing rooms, to get them playing straight away with that upheaval around and behind the scenes. It's not going to be a very, very easy, especially when you haven't got 1,000 games behind you. Phil Parkinson's seen it all, but going in as your first job, you want a settled squad and people that are happy there, and he's not got that at the moment, so it'll be really interesting to see how they go this year.
Yes, West Bromwich Albion, the visitors this afternoon, off to a good start in the Championship. They had a winning opening weekend against Blackburn Rovers by 1-0. Well, on the 22nd of July, we lost one of the true greats of this football club, Joey Jones, sadly passing away at the age of 70. And as we look down and start the Championship season at home this afternoon, it was appropriate, I think, for us to just spend a few moments in reflecting on Joey's contribution to this club over so many decades in so many different ways. Mia, Andy, you were both here on Tuesday night. We had an immaculately observed minute silence for Joey. There's an event, of course, this Wednesday at the club. All the details on the club website for fans to come down and pay their respects on Wednesday lunchtime at 12:30. But Andy, if I start with you, I know that Joey had an influence on you both as a player and when you were manager here.
Yeah, Joey's impact on me and my career and my managerial career is pretty immeasurable, in my opinion. He was the first point of contact when I first came in '97. He was the one that took the reserves and the youth team, which is where I was. He was the one that was pushing for me to get further up the ladder and get a chance in the first team. And he was constantly giving advice and tellings off as well, by the way, in there, of if you were good or bad or what you could do to improve. And he was always at it. His enthusiasm around the place and his energy was just frightening. Regardless of what had happened the day before, he was there again. You know, he'd chase me around the training ground at times, you know, when I'd make a tackle on him when he was joining in. You know, he'd call me the hotel leisure manager with my previous job that I did, and you know, while I was walking through the gym and should have been in the gym maybe. But he was a huge impact, and then when I came to be a manager as well, he was the one sat in the stands just overseeing and helping behind the scenes and talking me through, because he'd been with Brian so long that he was just helping me talk me through the difficulties and the ups and downs. And you know, he was probably the calming head when I was a little bit off it at times when I was losing it because we weren't playing well. He was the calming influence and gave just little points of advice, and he'll be sadly missed, and what a fantastic guy.
Absolutely. And Mia, you knew Joey for much of your life so far.
Yeah, the whole of my life really. Obviously, he played a massive part in terms of my dad's, football career, but also in his personal life as well. He helped him in so many scenarios, and I wouldn't like to speak on my dad's behalf, but growing up, it was, we obviously watched a lot of football in our house, whether that was Wrexham, Liverpool now and again, and you see the likes of someone like King Kenny would get mentioned, and my dad would be quick to jump in and say, no, he's not the king, that's Sir Joey. There's only one king in this house, and it's Joey, and that was passed on, to all of us. And I think you look at the sort of term of a legacy, and I think Joey leaves behind so much, and not just in terms of what he demanded on pitch from whether that was first team players, staff, academy players, to give absolutely everything every time they pulled on that shirt, but also the values he actually held off the pitch. He was just such a beautiful, kind human being, and that's something he passed on to so many people, not just players, family, friends, obviously people he just met in town when he'd bump into them. And I like to think that's something that will live on forever, from the people he's passed that on to.
Well, here's hoping that it will. And of course, there will be a new statue built to honour Joey as part of the new COP development. Looking forward very much to seeing that when it's hopefully unveiled in the near future. Joey Jones, who we lost on the 22nd of July, age 70. Now, I'm sure Joey will be looking down with much interest at the number of new signings who have arrived at the Stoke Kairas over the summer months. There have been so many announcements in recent weeks, it might be hard to keep track of all the new faces we're going to see this season. So we thought we'd spend a few minutes on Matchday Live today, just refreshing and reminding who we've got in the building new this summer. So as you can see on that graphic, Danny Ward returns to the club, who gave him his debut what seems like an aeon ago. He returns from Leicester City, the Welsh international goalkeeper. Same source for Connor Cody, the former Everton, Liverpool and Wolves centre-back who made such a strong debut at Southampton last week. Liberato Cacace, known as Libby, we've touched on in our opening thoughts today, arrives from Serie A side Empoli, New Zealand international, just out with injury today. Then in midfield, two recruits with plenty of experience in the EFL. Lewis O'Brien, who touched the Premier League with Nottingham Forest and played some very impressive minutes for them at that level, and George Thomason, who we'll hopefully be seeing in the coming weeks, just with a small injury problem at the moment. He arrives from Bolton Wanderers. And then look at that lineup in attack. 4 new signings. Nathan Broadhead in this week from Ipswich Town. Ryan Hardy earlier in the window from Plymouth. Kiefer Moore from Sheffield United, and Josh Windass, the scorer last Saturday, from Sheffield Wednesday. Mia, where on earth to start with that lot? First of all, before we get into individuals, when you look at those 9 names, do you think to yourself that is the spine of a team who could challenge for the playoffs?
Do you know what? I think you kind of do, and I'm not one who at the start of, towards the end of obviously when we got promoted last season was thinking, as long as we stay up, I feel like that's a success, because that still sort of runs through me. But you're looking at those names that have come in, and you can't help but sort of feel that. And like I mentioned prior, not just the quality of player, but the experience of the player as well is so important. And coming into this squad, I look at that back line with someone like Connor Cody slotting in between Max and Brunty. It sort of feels like that sort of Ben Tozer acquisition we made a few years ago in the National League, but sort of levelled up. No disrespect to Ben, of course, but what he'll pass on to them, to either side of him, it's so valuable. And then I think they've all really sort of shone. I know we've only seen him very briefly, but thinking back to that Southampton game last week, I thought Kiefer Moore was just another level. And again, it's just super exciting. And someone like Nathan Broadhead as well, who by all accounts Ipswich are absolutely gutted to have lost. He's another one who comes in, and now I think the issue is just fitting them all in. Yeah, well, absolutely. And Andy, when we looked at that graphic, of course, 4 out of the 9 attacking players. I mean, you could argue Windass floats between midfield and attack, but a heavy emphasis on the top third of the pitch, which suggests to me this is not a squad that Phil Parkinson is assembling and thinking to himself, well, what I'll do is make us hard to beat, pack it with defenders and defensive midfielders, and we'll try and win the odd game 1-0. Very much the reverse of that.
Yeah, well, I don't think the structure will change much from last season of how we went about playing. He's just added real quality. We've added in the last 2 seasons over 40-odd goals in the Championship to our squad, which is something he's obviously looked at and thought that we were a little bit lacking in maybe last year. 12, 13 years ago, I asked Mark Carrington to come in for nothing and play for nothing.
From Hamilton, I think.
While he was, or Bury, while he was, looking for a club. and that we've spent over 20 million in this summer already, and counting pretty much. So it just tells you how sort of space of time this club is on the trajectory. But like Mia said, the squad there and the input is the experience that the Championship players have got here. That looking at the 2 games we've played against Hull and Southampton, this was needed because the step up is huge, and it was probably bigger than I remember it when I went from Wrexham to Coventry. I didn't see it as that big a step, but it is. It's a huge step, and you need experience. You need players that have done it and been there. And I've just been surprised at the speed of the game. It's constant, and it is just another level to where it was last season.
Yeah, and I heard Phil say publicly a couple of weeks ago that he anticipated the biggest difference between League One and the Championship was around power running. So not necessarily about how far a player travels in a game or technical skill, but just the ability to sprint and that pace element. And with all the international breaks, he went on to say, well, that's going to mean we're probably going to have a lot of options in midfield, because if you're playing Saturday, Tuesday, you can't expect a player necessarily to be able to play 90 minutes and then 90 again at this level of intensity with the speed.
Yeah, well, he did it with Longman and Barnett last year, didn't he, where they were playing 70-20s and then flipping and 70-20s, and he was utilising them both, so they were always fresh to start games, and maybe that's the way that he's thinking now. Thomason is another addition in midfield. You know, we're missing Rathbone already and Cannon, which are 2 big players for us last season and a big energy in our team, so we've added to there as well. And he's just got so much strength and depth. I'm sure there'll be another couple come in. I'm sure there'll be a few that will have to go out the door to get regular first team football. But these are the decisions that he's had to make. We're having money is a different problem to not having money to spend. You've got to spend it wisely and spend it right, because you don't want to waste this money that you've been given. So at the moment it all looks good, because all of them debuted well last week and did really well. So fingers crossed we're all on the up.
And Mia, just briefly, when everyone's fully fit and integrated into the squad, who's the first choice front 2?
For me, well...
Cheers.
Well, no, for me, I thought Windass and Moore did really well last week, but I feel like you can't not play Nathan Broadhead. So does he change it? I know we saw in Australia that sort of box midfield where the 2 sort of dropped off and left a lone striker, so I think maybe it could be a little shift to that. We obviously saw a few sort of similar signs when Sam Smith and Jay Rodriguez came in last year, with one sort of dropping in behind, so you know it could be anything. You know, I'll probably eat my words. Ollie Palmer might be starting next week, who knows?
I'm sure he hopes so.
Yeah.
Okie dokie, we've got around 22 minutes before kick-off here at the Stoke Kairas. We'll continue our build-up to that in just a few moments' time.
Yeah, the transition obviously from moving clubs is always a weird one, but the management staff and all the players have accepted me and made the transition so seamless. So yeah, I'm honoured to be here, and I can't wait to carry on.
I know it's early in your days at the club, Josh, but has there been a moment yet so far that's made you think this club is different to one of the clubs you've been at before?
The cup game the other night. As soon as I came on, we obviously conceded 2 goals, and I was thinking, oh, that's not good. And then Big Ollie comes up with 2 goals out of nothing, and yeah, I keep getting told that that's the normal here. So yeah, it was great to experience it, and yeah, hopefully more nights like that.
In terms of the personalities around you, how would you compare the dressing room to some of the previous ones you've been in so far?
Yeah, every dressing room is completely different, but obviously been at a club, so I was at Sheffield Wednesday 5.5 years, so I've obviously got some friends that I'll probably keep for life at that club. So yeah, all dressing rooms are different, but no, every single guy in the change room here has made me feel so welcome, also accepting, and yeah, I can't thank them enough.
You've obviously played a lot of Championship football previously, Josh, but how did that game away at Southampton last Saturday compare to a lot of the Championship football you'd played in the past?
Yeah, I thought it was a really high-level game. I think it's 2 teams that should be fighting at the top end of the league come season end, and they have really good players, we have really good players, and I thought it was a good advert for the Championship, to be honest. And yeah, unlucky to lose in the last couple of minutes, but I think that happening in the first game is good for us. I think it's a learning curve to show how ruthless the division can be. You can concede at the drop of a hat, so yeah, we're going to learn from that, and hopefully it won't happen again.
Early in your competitive debut for the club, Wrexham win a penalty and you stand over it. What was going through your head as you were about to address that ball on the spot?
To be honest, just score. The manager told me the day before that I'd be taking penalties. So yeah, it was always nice when Keefer went down and the ref pointed to the spot. But yeah, I was just focusing on getting my breath in and putting the ball away.
How did you feel when Phil gave you that responsibility so early in your time at the club?
Yeah, I didn't. It just at the end of training, he just made me take 2 penalties, and said you're taking penalties. So I didn't really feel any type of way. I just wanted to prove him right and score, I guess.
9 new players through the doors this summer, including yourself, of course. On the basis of your experience, how long, Josh, do you think it will take for that number of players to really understand each other's play, their style, their movement, and for this team to become as good as it can be?
I don't really know. That's obviously a difficult question because there's been historic teams that have come together in pre-season and flown. There's obviously teams that have been together ages, and like the team kind of has the last 3 years. But I think the key is have good relationships off the pitch and have trust in each other and try and influence each other the best you can. And yeah, hopefully when you go onto the pitch, the manager's plan, everybody abides by it, and then we can all execute it as best way we can.
We saw you playing in the number 10 role at Southampton, and then when you came on the other night against Hull, you were a little bit further back in midfield.
Yeah.
What do you think some of the key attributes are to be a successful attacking midfielder at this level?
Fitness. I think the Championship's a hectic league, but I think from 60 minutes onwards, the games always change. And if you can be the team in the ascendancy and have the fitness to maintain your standards and maintain the running power, then you're always going to have a chance in this division, especially. Because for the first 60 minutes, every team's frantic, every team can press, every team's got quality players. So I think fitness and having the mindset to keep going is obviously a big attribute.
What kind of challenge are you expecting from West Brom tomorrow, and what kind of formation do you think they might set out?
I'm not too sure. Obviously, they've got a new manager, a young manager who's obviously it's his first job, so not too sure what to expect, but they're always a good team at this level. They've obviously had many playoff campaigns and a lot of promotions, so I'm assuming they'll want to be in that sort of conversation again come the end of the season, and yeah, we're looking forward to putting our wits up against them.
And finally, Josh, I know you'll be fully focused on West Brom tomorrow, but a week on, Sheffield Wednesday come here, your former club who you were with just up until a few weeks ago. How are you feeling about that one?
Yeah, obviously get this game out of the way, and then hopefully have a successful result at the weekend, and then we can welcome them to the race course, obviously, in a week's time, and get to see some familiar faces, get to see an incredible fan base, which they are. And hopefully, just for one game only, I can support a different team instead of them.
Well, Josh, thanks very much for joining us, and all the very best tomorrow.
Thank you.
Josh Windass, who I had the chance to catch up with at the Stoke Kairas in the sunshine yesterday afternoon. Well, Josh certainly getting off to a flying start at Southampton last weekend. I was interested, Mia, by his comment to me that Phil Parkinson, having seen him take 2 penalties in training, had told him if we get one tomorrow, you're taking one. Pretty bold from Phil, but also pretty nerveless from Josh on debut to stand up with all the weight of expectation on his shoulder on such a big day and finish it so neatly.
Yeah, but he's a big game player as well. I think he's shown that, playoff goal I seem to remember quite fondly. He got a few years back, and yeah, I mean, I want to see those penalties he took in training now. They must have been good ones. But no, what a player as well, by the way. I mean, yeah, I've been so impressed with him since he's come in, and I think he could be one as well who's going to be asked to do different things, and that's the sort of debate I think when he came in. Is he going to be that striker, or is he going to sort of drop in for us and maybe do a bit what Jay Rodriguez did towards the end of last season? It's a really interesting debate, especially now with obviously someone like Nathan Broadhead coming in. But I mean, I look at that game last week against Southampton, he could have had 3. I mean, obviously he got the pen, hit the bar, the one where Kiefer Moore's got to square it just on the stroke of half time as well, so could have had a hat-trick on debut. I know it's if buts and maybes, but yeah, he's someone I'm really excited to see this season.
Yeah, I don't know if Phil Parkinson is evolving to this one main striker with one off that Jay played at the back end of last season, and Windass would fit that, not a direct number 9, but not quite an 8 either in the midfield, so he's sort of in between the 10 sort of thing around him. And again, Broadhead as well, the same sort of figure coming in. Can you play those two behind Kiefer Moore? Maybe that's where he could go with that box midfield. He's got a lot of options, Phil Parkinson, but I don't think he'll be too quick to veer off where he was at that got us our joy at the back end of last season, but he could be sort of evolving to that maybe.
Yes, we'll be interested to see how Josh Windass' season evolves and where we see him deployed in the Wrexham system. Another key player we expect to have a big influence on the game today is another of the new signings, Lewis O'Brien. And we've got a chance to compare Lewis with a player of similar attributes in the West Brom side this afternoon, Isaac Price, their Northern Irish international, formerly of Everton and Standard Liège. Now, both of these players got off to a decent start last weekend. O'Brien impressing without scoring for Wrexham with his work rate and pass accuracy, you can see there, of 76%. On another day he might have netted his first for the club. Isaac Price did find the target for West Brom, bit of a scramble, and he was the man who made the difference in their 1-0 win over Blackburn Rovers. Mia, how would you compare what O'Brien and Price can bring to the pitch this afternoon?
Yeah, both players full of energy, very, very gifted players, and Lewis O'Brien last week, another one who probably could have had a goal to his name as well. I know he went down a bit of a, at the time we weren't sure, could it have been a pen, could it have not? I think maybe he's just expecting the push or something in the back, so goes down. But no, someone like Isaac Price as well, very, very talented. I don't think it'll be long before you've got some of the bigger sort of clubs, if you like, sniffing around him, because he's got a real bright future. I think he's got 7 goals in 7 appearances for Northern Ireland. He's really shone on the international stage, and I think now West Brom fans are looking at him to sort of be able to do that on a more consistent note for club as well.
Lewis O'Brien last weekend, Andy, what was your overall assessment of him? Because on paper, looking at his pedigree and the fact that he shone certainly in a number of the early games for Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. I remember seeing him quite early on outplay Declan Rice for West Ham in an early Forest match when they first got up. He looks like the kind of high energy midfielder who could really bring something different to the middle of the park. Yeah,
well, I think that's a thing about all the players that we've brought in, is all of them are hard workers. They'll just give everything for the cause, which is a great start, and Phil Parkinson absolutely loves that. He will bring that energy. He didn't have many touches of the ball in our game. We didn't have a lot of possession. We were under the cosh quite a bit, and we were defending in that low block that we go to when we're under the cosh a little bit. But he had a lot of ability on the ball. He was able to keep it for us when we needed to. That's going to be so important. He plays a little bit deeper than Isaac Price, but one of my coaches that I have back home is a West Brom season ticket holder, and I was like picking his brains about this game, and it's going to be the Isaac Price show. He's like amazing, he's like top draw. He'll have a lot of suitors looking at him, as will Tom Fellows on the right, and he said both of them are having a lot of eyes on them, if you like, and they'll do well to keep them, really, but they're so young. They just need to be playing games, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Price play.
Emil, just a quick word on the defence last weekend. Connor Cody obviously stepped in, but he's played at a higher level. We were perhaps expecting an assured performance. But Max Cleworth and Lewis Brunt, just a word on them and how you thought they stepped up last weekend.
Yeah, I thought they did well. I think, like I said prior, I thought Brunt was probably the more strong one out of him and Max. But they've both got so much to learn, and like I said again, so having someone like Connor Cody in between you, and also Danny Ward for that matter behind you, is so valuable. And I think maybe that's, I know, just going away from the question a bit, in the goalkeeping department, maybe that's why Ward has come in front of Arthur, just again for that experience. But I think it's brilliant to see them two in the Championship. And listen, I'd quite like to get another maybe defender in there just in case, because we've just got to be wary of them. We know they're not Championship experienced, so if we need to take them out for a game or two, we need to have that option. But so delighted to see them, especially Max, obviously academy product as well.
Yeah, and Danny Ward's selection, Andy, ahead of Arthur Okonkwo again today. Were you expecting to see that?
Mia did, but I didn't. She picked it before the game. No, I wasn't overly surprised. I think Phil Parkinson does like his experience, and just to start the campaign, I think it's probably a wise decision. It's a bit harsh on Arthur. I think he's got plenty in the bank, credit, if you like, to have kept that number 1 shirt, but he's got now to fight for his place and try and get back in this team, and it's Danny's to keep. So surprised, yes, but I think Wardy's kicking has probably just edged it for him, because it's just a little bit better where he's at in his career than Arthur's, and he's got a little bit of development in that area.
So, Andy, reflecting on the Southampton game last weekend, it was, of course, a heartbreaking one for Wrexham, but with plenty to hearten the Red Dragons fans ahead of the season. Let's have a reminder of how things played out at St Mary's. A sad end then to our long trip to Southampton, but so many positives from that game. And of course, those who came in midweek were able to, as Phil put it, give Wrexham the kickstart to the season with that turnaround against Hull City and the victory on penalties. Andy, as we build up to kick-off now, 5 minutes before we get underway, a full house, sunny afternoon in North Wales. How many lessons do you think will have been taken from that Southampton game, particularly the latter part of it, that Phil will be really drumming into the players right now?
Yeah, well, I said straight after the game, I think it was 25% possession in the second half that we had, and if we're going to be like that for the whole season, then it's going to be a long season for us. We've got to somehow find a way of keeping the ball a little bit, just to get our breathers back. You know, we can't just keep giving it them back, and at times we got a little bit panicky and it was just shelled anywhere rather than that composure to make a pass. That will come. It's a new step up, like we've spoke about. But I think Phil Parkinson has alluded to it as well, hasn't he, that we're good footballers as well here, so don't get in that mindset of just defending and sitting back. We've got to go for these teams and have the bravery, if you like, to get on that ball, keep the ball for a little bit and move these oppositions around so that we can then create the chances for our strikers.
And looking at this pitch this afternoon, Andy,
yeah, rubbish, isn't it?
Well, I was going to say, we're standing on it now. It is an absolute carpet. We will be catching up with head groundsman Paul Challoner at half-time to learn a little bit more about the process of getting such a great surface this season. So make sure you rejoin us on YouTube then to see that one. But what would you have given, Andy, to have played on a surface like this at the start of the season?
Well, I couldn't have played on that. I used to blame the bobbles all the time, you know, when I missed chances and stuff. So, no, it is absolutely...
There's no excuses, is there? There's no...
Absolutely.
It hit a divot, boss.
No. It is so flat. It is just beautiful. It is like an AstroTurf, really, with grass involved in it as well. It's frightening to see the quality of it, for first and foremost. But Charlie, it used to take him just over an hour to water our pitch last year, and it's 10 minutes now. He's sat on his sun lounger in the corner there, enjoying the sun in North Wales while his robots are doing the mowing and his waterers are doing the...
I definitely saw him with a mower yesterday, Andy. He's definitely still handy with a mower. It's a perfect surface, isn't it? We can just see the Wrexham substitutes coming across now. The dugouts are, of course, on the Mould Road side of the ground now for this season, in readiness for the COP opening and connecting up to the dressing rooms next year. So the substitutes come across first, then the management teams follow, and then the players and referee are imminent. So don't forget, if you haven't yet sorted out your iFollow pass for today, head to wrexhamafc.co.uk/live. That'll give you all the options, and you can tune into Mark Griffiths together with Mia Roberts and Andy Morell on co-commentary. Get in touch with us through the socials at Wrexham_AFC is where you need to tag us. We're back here at half-time and full-time. Same link on YouTube as we see if Wrexham can make it a winning start for their first home game in the Championship in 43 years. Thank you for now, Andy. We will see you later as well. See you at half-time, and to be bringing good news as Wrexham square up to West Bromwich Albion. See you then. guys just leave that here for this half time. You don't need to move or anything. Kai Rass, half-time here. It is Wrexham 1, West Bromwich Albion 1. A balanced first half, which the visitors had the better of initially and took a 20th minute lead. Isaac Price sweeping the ball home from a Tom Fellows cross beyond Danny Ward. Wrexham were struggling initially to create too many clear-cut chances. Kiefer Moore had a header just over the bar, perhaps the nearest they had come. But in the 42nd minute, the home side levelled. Lewis O'Brien scoring his first goal for the club, driving a volley into the turf and up and beyond Josh Griffiths. All square then at the interval. Wrexham competing hard in a match which has been pretty balanced over the opening 45. Nathan Broadhead introduced around the half hour. Josh Windass going off with what looked like a hamstring injury. So an opportunity for the home fans to have a first look at their most recent signing. Well, we'll have a chance to pick over the bones of the first half in just a moment with a former Wrexham player, a man who in recent years certainly had his moments here at the Stoke Kai Rass.
Here goes Jamie Jones to Mullin. Mullin's got Barnett to his right. He comes back the other way looking for Ford. Anthony Ford cuts inside. It's Ford to shoot. He's done it. Anthony Ford with the breakthrough. The Irishman with his third of the season beats Will Hughes. And is that the moment that propels Wrexham to within one win of the Football League? Finally the breakthrough on the hour. It's Wrexham 1, the Yeovil Town 0.
Kai Rass to Anthony Ford. Anthony, fantastic to see you here on the opening home championship occasion of the season. What did you make, first of all, of the first half?
Yeah, thanks very much. It's great to be here again. First half was pretty even, I think. I feel like we probably edged the chances, apart from one or two mistakes. West Brom got in. Their striker finished it well, but all in all, I think Wrexham had the better chances. I feel like they need to keep getting it wide to Barney and getting the crosses in, and I think the goal came from Kiefer Moore's cross. But yeah, they just need to get a few more balls, I think, in behind and stretch them a little bit more, and I'd fancy them in the second half.
Josh Windass coming off midway through the half, Anthony, with what looked like a hamstring problem, giving Nathan Broadhead a first run out. How do you think that might change how Wrexham try and get the ball up to what is now a front two of Moore and Broadhead?
Yeah, you can tell Windass is a very clever player. He tries to seed in passes that will hurt teams, so it'll be interesting now to see what happens. Broadhead's obviously got really good quality, so I think if he can get on the ball as much as possible and feed off Kiefer's flick-ons, then it'll work really well. So let's see how it goes.
You obviously have played right up to the Premier League, Anthony, in your career. When you look at the first half that we've just witnessed here, when you compare the Championship to League One last year, what really stands out for you as the differences in standard, speed, technical quality?
I think the physicality. Everyone is a lot stronger, a lot quicker, and if you make a mistake, you're getting punished. I think we had one or two mistakes in the first half, and then nearly scored one over the bar early on, and then I think the goal might have come from a mistake. So they're the little things, the fine margins in the champ, that if you make a mistake, you're punished. If everyone's not on it, you can't carry anyone. You need to be 8 out of 10 every game, and like I said, physically it's a big step up.
And Anthony, talk to us about where you're up to at the moment, because of course you moved on to Burton Albion from us last season. I know you've been playing for the PFA 11 through the summer. Where are you up to with your next phase of your footballing journey?
Yeah, so at the moment I'm a free agent, currently at the PFA training camp with other players out of contract, so trying to find somewhere that suits me. So a new club that's hopefully close by that I can commute to from where I'm living now. I want to stay local to here. Me and my family love it, and yeah, hopefully something comes up in the next couple of weeks, but all is good, keeping fit, and I'll stay ready.
And you've got Jordan Davis for company as well at the PFA training camp. Have you been helping each other out a bit over the last few weeks?
Yeah, we have. We've been commuting together, so we've been helping each other out. I've assisted him a few times. He's scored plenty of goals, so he's done really well. He's looking really fit, so hopefully Jordan can stay injury free now and, you know, get a good team. And I feel like once he gets a run of games, he'll do really well.
I'm sure you're keen to get a new club sorted as soon as possible, Anthony, but that PFA training camp looks a really good concept to actually keep players fit, playing competitive matches, and above all in the shop window for that next move.
Yeah, do you know what? It's really good. I was a bit reluctant to go at the start, and the minute I got there, it was amazing. It's a proper setup, really good coaching, facilities are great, and you play games and you train with the lads, which is ultimately what you miss. So it makes keeping fit a lot easier.
And I'm sure you've been keeping an eye on the incomings at Wrexham over the summer. What have you made of the 9 signings so far that have come into the club?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think everyone knew it was going to happen. The club's moving so quickly, and you know there's players coming in and out, and that's part and parcel. I think they've signed some really good players, and I think the gaffer is really good at picking the right players for the club. The way they play, you know, you can see with Kiefer, for example, it's suited him down to the ground, and he's been brilliant. And the quality of Windass, there's a lot of quality probably still to come, but it's about gelling quickly. I think that's important. And what I've heard is they're all great lads, which is good for the dressing room, and that's one thing the gaffer has been really good at over the last few years.
I know people are reluctant, certainly within the club at the moment, to put an ambition on the season, Anthony, and reasonably so, because although the players coming in are of high quality, they've got a blend, as you say, and the season as well is a little difficult to predict because the club haven't been at this level for 43 years. But when you look at the squad now, standing back from that, if you were to make a prediction as to where you think the team could finish this year, where would you roughly be pitching?
It's a tough question. I think definitely top half. I think they're really effective in the way they play, and I feel like we'll always be in games. It's a really, really hard to say. I don't want to say playoffs or anything, but I wouldn't be surprised with the philosophy and the way the club's gone in the last few years. Anything could happen, and it's really exciting. You've seen what happened Tuesday night in the cup game. It's when clubs come here, they're going to fear it, and that's the atmosphere the fans have created, and the ball gets sucked into the net, and that's just the way it is. So I think a lot of teams will not want to come here.
Just finally, Anthony, before we let you go and resume your matchday duties that you're helping with today, if I was to ask you for one word which summarised your own experience at Wrexham over the 4 seasons you had here, what might that be?
Incredible. Yeah,
really?
It's been amazing. When I look back at it now, it's the best decision I ever made in my career. Everything that it's brought to me, my family, it's just been brilliant. So we're fans now, and we'll keep it that way. And yeah, we're always going to be close by, and it'll be in all of our hearts.
Perfect. Well, Anthony, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on Matchday Live today, and we really hope you get that next club sorted soon, and we look forward to seeing wherever you end up out on the park again, creating and scoring goals.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anthony Ford, former Wrexham wing-back, joining us on Matchday Live today. Half-time then here at the Stoke Kairas. It's Wrexham 1, West Bromwich Albion 1, and this afternoon, of course, the first opportunity for the Wrexham players to play a league fixture on this wonderful new playing surface. But how have we now got a pitch which is the envy of so many others, and how do you go about creating a surface like this one? Well, just yesterday I had the chance to ask those questions and more to head groundsman Paul Challoner. Paul, your 17th year as head groundsman here at the Stoke Kairas. Has this pitch ever looked better than this?
I'll have to say no. I'd like it to have been, but no, I think this is the best we've ever had it. So Quite proud of the team, what they've managed to achieve over the summer. First was the big dig out, so we had to dig out down to 500 mil and then reform the levels and that, get them back and then build up gradually. So we've got gravel carpet into a sand layer and then the root zone top, and then like just about 3 weeks later we stitched the pitch in, and then we're back to green grass again on top.
So having gone through those different phases to build the surface up and give us the grass that we've got now, just give us a reminder of some of the key characteristics that we've now got in the playing surface here.
Like we've got undersoil heating, so that'll help us through the frost and stuff, the cold spells, so it should guarantee games on. We've gone from like the old days, took us a whole day to water the pitch. Now we can water the pitch down in 4 minutes, which is a massive difference.
The undersoil heating then, Paul, I mean, I remember, of course, in recent seasons, that game against Southend, when it was all hands to the pump for that match in March, and everybody was down helping clear the pitch with shovels on the morning, got the game on, of course. Does that mean that kind of occurrence will just be a thing of history now?
Yeah, it should be. You might, like, if you've got really heavy snowfall, you might get a bit of snow, but not to the 4 or 5 inches, like, so we'd keep the undersoil heating ticking along and keep it melting, and then plus the club have invested in more lighting rigs for us, so we've made massive strides forward. So this is what you'd see on the surface before the grass seed went down. So they're every 2 centimetres of stitching, and then runs through, and then we're down to 180 mil stitched in, and then once the grass establishes, the roots wrap around the stitching so that gives you your anchor.
So Paul, when we hear this phrase of stitching, that's saying that the root doesn't just naturally go into the earth, it's actually controlled, is it, down a pipe almost?
Yeah, it's like it just latches on and then grips on, and then that sort of gives you your anchoring onto your root and that. So this is all cut off above 18 mil, so we'll cut at 23, 24 mil through the season, so we never touch the actual stitching side of it. Obviously now we're like a sand-based pitch, like gives you stability, because the sand and that, when it's drying out, loses stability. But obviously with the stitching, it just locks it all together and just holds it firm.
to Matchday Live. Full time here at the Stoke Kairas. It's ended in defeat for Wrexham on their return to Championship football at home. It's finished Wrexham 2, West Bromwich Albion 3. Another hard lesson for Phil Parkinson's side. West Brom the second best for much of the first half of the second half. It looked like Wrexham would be the team who might go on and win this game after it was 1-1 at half-time. Couple of good opportunities for Nathan Broadhead early in the second half. One just after the resumption. He couldn't take, though, the opportunities presented to him. And then Wrexham were punished, and Isaac Price was right at the heart of the action, as he had been when he'd scored in the first half. He added the third in the 81st minute after Jed Wallace had given West Bromwich Albion the lead in the 74th, beating Danny Ward at his near post. Ward might be slightly disappointed in having conceded. It came very much against the run of play at that particular moment. That led to Wrexham looking a little bit shell-shocked at trailing and taking full advantage. Price, with a free header in the 81st minute, closed the door on the home side. There was time for a late Sam Smith consolation. No chance today, though, for the kind of comeback we saw in midweek. Smith's neatly taken header in the 94th minute came right at the end of added time, and no chance for Wrexham to rescue a point. So played 2, lost 2 is the harsh reality for Phil Parkinson's side as they slide to defeat here. Mia Roberts and Andy Morrell have set a new Wrexham record in the speed with which you can get round 3 sides of a stadium from commentary. Congratulations to you both. I'd have been about another hour. But Andy, overall reflections on the defeat?
Moments, really, in games. We were well in the game for the majority of it. I think the third goal killed us a little bit, but it was just those key ends in that final third. They were able to pick out that important pass that creates the opportunity, and we weren't. And that is going to be the difference in levels. You know, these games are going to be very, very close and very, very even. I think with the squad that we've got, it's can we have moments and really take advantage of those moments.
Mia, I touched on just now the fact that Nathan Broadhead had a couple of good opportunities early in the second half, particularly that one straight after half-time. Similarities to Southampton in some senses, the chance for Hardy, for O'Brien, for Connor Cody down there, which Wrexham couldn't take, and then clinically finished at the end, and perhaps 1 or 2 defensive lapses contributing as well.
Yeah, I thought there was a lot of similarities to Southampton, to be honest. Like you say, you know, I thought we sort of nullified them pretty much to one chance, and obviously the goal in the first half, and then, you know, second half, I thought again we came out bright and, you know, started well, and like you say, if that Broadhead header, you know, finds itself in the back of the net, then, you know, we might be stood here with a couple points. So, you know, it's one of them again that we've got to learn from, and I totally agree with what Andy says. I think that third goal was a big sucker punch, not just on the pitch, but you sort of felt it a bit around it as well. And yeah, a real shame. But, you know, I think in the end, good to see obviously Sam Smith get that goal at the end. Only consolation, I know, but yeah, it's all about response now, and again, positives to take. So we've just got to learn from it and move forward.
Will Danny Ward be a bit disappointed, Andy, with the second going past him at his near post?
Yeah, I would have thought so. Yeah, obviously keepers can get beat at the near post because the pace of the people that smash these things, they go fast, but it wasn't every one of the cleanest of strikes, and it would just be, yeah, he'd be disappointed he didn't stick that foot out a bit quicker and save it at the near post, because at that point we were well in the game. I think we had the second half majority of possession, which we haven't had in the previous 2 games, and we looked all right with it. You know, we looked in fairly comfortable, but then it's just split seconds that these teams can go from one end of the pitch. I thought we were really deep from the goal kick, that was able to then the striker was able to bring it down, Hegenbo, and just play, and then they're on to us sort of thing. I'd rather us be a little bit more aggressive and coming over the top of the striker, but apart from that, then those moments of can you stop and block those opportunities, and we weren't able to, and yeah, Wardy will be a bit disappointed with that at the near post.
And then the third goal, Mia, a free header for Isaac Price. We called him out before the game as a key man for West Brom. He netted twice, but that third goal perhaps a little bit too easy for him, seemed a very free header.
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, again, obviously they'll be disappointed with it. It almost started again from that goal kick. I know it was a few phases after, but we just didn't ever look set. And I think, you know, Max has stepped forward a bit, and then Connor Cody's had to cover across, and it's just cost us in the end, that little bit of switch off. And that's the level we're at now. We've got to be aware that you give these teams chances, they're going to be clinical, and equally, obviously, up the other end for us, we've got to take our chances as well, and that's the difference. But I think now we've seen the standard of in 2 games, plus obviously Hull as well on Tuesday night just gone, and we know the levels we need to get to now. And we spoke a bit about it on comms in terms of these new signings coming in. We've got to give them time to gel, and already they've shown real signs of quality, but still there's a lot of places we're going to get to, and we've got to give them time to do that. And you've got to also trust that Phil Parkinson's going to allow them to develop as well.
How influential do you think was Josh Windass's early withdrawal today on how the game played out?
Yeah, again, for me, really similar to obviously Kiefer Moore last Saturday at Southampton, sadly, and we obviously hope that's nothing too serious. It looked serious, obviously, as soon as a player, clutches the hamstring like that and then puts his hand up and sort of says, I'm done, I can't continue. That's obviously a massive worry, and especially for a player of Josh Windass's quality, like we said, pre-kickoff, it's a huge loss. But then, I thought Nathan Broadhead came in and did okay. I think, he had moments, but again, he's only had 2 days or so training, I think, with the squad, so
sure.
That's going to take time as well. And that could be a huge loss for us, sadly, but fingers crossed it might not be as serious as first looked, similar to the Kiefer Moore last weekend.
Andy, how would you compare that performance against the 90 minutes at Southampton? About the same, slightly worse, bit better?
No, I thought that was better.
I
thought that was better because of the way we kept the ball. We were able to move the ball around. We were I suppose we were on top with the way that we kept it, and we kept them penned in, and it wasn't always us backs against the wall defending, last gasp defending, and we have to then find a way. Then it's not just get it wide and cross it in the box. We've got to be a little bit more guile about our play, a little bit around the edges of the box, so that we've got more than one option of just out wide, cross it and head it. We want to be able to play into those points and maybe play off those points. That's got to come with these new players, and moving up a step, we've got to try and find different ways of scoring goals.
I think just as well, that's why probably today's more disappointing in some aspects, because you look at last week at Southampton, that second half, I know we had a couple of chances, but I don't think we made a string of more than 2 or 3 passes in that second half.
Foot, weren't we? Yeah.
Absolutely, just under the cosh the whole 45 minutes and more, and obviously that free kick you can do nothing about, but it always felt like them goals were coming. Whereas today, we had a real foothold as we came out for the second half, and then for the goals of the quality that we've got at the back, you do expect that a little bit more, and obviously like Andy's touched on, Wardy, I think, will be disappointed with it, but yeah, we've got to hopefully just keep heads up, and obviously game Sheffield Wednesday on the Saturday coming up, so a lot of positives to take, so hopefully they can go again.
Yeah, I felt the same as you, Mia, in that kind of 45 to 70 minute section. Wrexham were by a long way the better side, but what we've learned, and it's always dangerous to make conclusions on 2 data points, is that in 2 opening games in this division, we've been punished in the final quarter on both occasions. The very end of the final quarter last week, a little bit earlier in the final quarter this week, and I was catching up with Matty James just briefly before kickoff today, and he said to me, Andy, did you see how many goals were scored in the Championship last week between 80 and 95? Yeah. But that's a key element of the play, right? Because you've got a 9-man bench, you've got opportunities to introduce players late, and that's where that extra 1% of fitness, bit of quality makes all the difference.
Yes, definitely fitness, concentration, these early parts of the season. Have you got that to take you right through to 96, 97? If the subs are coming on there, can they make that impact and get you back in the game in those periods of the game? So, yeah, there were tons and tons scored, and I'm hoping that teams, as they get fitter and better, that those goals at the end of games won't happen as much. But for us, we've scored 3 in a week in the night, but we've conceded as well at the same time. So, yeah, these things are challenges that Phil Parkinson's got to iron out as quickly as he possibly can.
Well, we'll continue to reflect on Matchday Live over the next 20 to 30 minutes or so. We hope to get some reaction from the Wrexham camp very soon indeed. But we've got a chance now to reflect a little bit on when we were last in the Championship, because it was 1982 that Wrexham last ran out here for a Championship fixture, May the 15th to be precise. And it was a match which sadly was of academic relevance to Wrexham that season. They had already been relegated, but they did finish in style, beating Rotherham United by 3-2 thanks to a hat-trick from Mick Vinter. And I'm delighted to say, as a special guest on Matchday Live today, we've got Wayne Sigielski, who played in that match, one of over 150 times that he pulled on the red shirt, was a regular throughout that season and throughout that era. Wayne, fantastic to have you. Thank you for coming to join us today. Does it feel like 43 years ago that you were running out here to play Rotherham?
I wanted to run myself today. just to hear all that noise, superb, fantastic.
Enjoyed the atmosphere.
Yeah, it was absolutely great. Reminded me back to 30,000 in midweek.
Yeah, because there were some huge crowds, of course, in that era, Wayne, weren't there? When we had a lot more terracing on the ground. Obviously, the cot behind us was in its pomp at that time. But how did you enjoy the game today? What did you make of it?
I thought it was very good. I thought Wrexham have got two new players, and they've got to join in, and they've got to create now with the rest of them.
Yeah.
And I just think it's going to be as good going forward.
We were stood for the game, Wayne, and I think we both commented, didn't we, when the third goal went in for West Brom, that the free header will be something that they'll look at in training. Having played at centre-back for much of your time here yourself, what can players work on to try and reduce the risk of a free header occurring?
First of all, you look at the striker and see what he's doing, how he's going to push you. And once you do that, you can realise how he's going to run, and you go on a part with him that he's there and you're here and the ball's coming in that way, and in that way you'll be able to get to the ball first, because you could just put your arm over him, over his shoulder, because you can do that.
Yeah. And thinking back now, Wayne, to 1982 and some of the games you played in, of course, Wrexham were coming up against some very big sides in that era. Chelsea were in the league at that time, Newcastle. And I remember you had a particular adventure the season before we were relegated, away at West Ham United in front of 30,000 people. Tell us a little bit about that night and what you remember of it.
Well, we gathered together and we got in the bus. And when we all got changed, we all came out and we all thought we're going to get a result. And unfortunately, as the game went on, Di Davis run after the person who in charge.
Referee, yeah.
Yeah, the referee. And off he went with the red card. So everybody was looking round saying, well, who's going to go in goal? And I said, well, I'll go in goal. So
Did Di give you his gloves on the way off as he was going down the tunnel? Did you at least have a pair of gloves to wear, Wayne?
I did have a pair of gloves, yes.
Good start.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for the rest of the game, I didn't concede a goal.
Solid record.
That's right.
Solid record. You can retire. You can retire with that one, Wayne.
And
Played one, conceded none.
That's why I'm taking it. Yes, because.
And looking back on that era, Wayne, when you think about the feel of the club then, the stadium, and what it was like to play at Championship level, it was, of course, known as Division 2 back then. What were one or two of the standouts for you when you reflect on that time in your career here?
The players I played against were superb.
Who was your toughest opponent?
I would say the toughest component was Chelsea.
As I say, as an overall team.
As an overall team.
Yeah, yeah. Because John Neal, of course, had gone there, hadn't he? Having managed us, he'd gone to Chelsea, and
That's
of course
right.
he took Eddie Nijvicki a few years later afterwards.
That's right.
Yeah. Big side to have in that division. But you'd have played, I guess, against people like Rodney Marsh for QPR at that time. Did you have him in his pocket, Wayne? Or
Yes, I did.
You had him covered, did you?
And after as we finished the match, he came up to me and he says, "You were one of the best defenders I've played against this season."
Look at that. Well, that's some commendation. Well, Wayne, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming to join us on Matchday Live.
Thank you very much for letting me come.
It's great to have
you. I've thoroughly
with us.
enjoyed it.
Oh,
and
brilliant.
to see somebody
Thank you.
who played so well and scored
you very much.
and scored so many goals.
Yeah, I wish I could have watched you play, actually.
Thank you very much indeed, Wayne, for joining us today. Wayne Sigielski, a member of the Wrexham team who played in the Championship the last time we were at this level, playing here in that match in 1982 against Rotherham United. Well, we've got the chance now to get some reaction from a player who's played this afternoon. George Dobson, Wrexham central midfielder, has kindly come to join us. George, thanks very much for coming to join us. Last time we chatted was after Charlton, just up there. Not quite the same emotion today, but what were your reflections on the 90 minutes?
I'd say it obviously one of frustrating. It was a game where there wasn't much in it really, in terms of both teams had chances, and yeah, we've just said in there we've just got to get back to like the ruthlessness in both boxes really, which obviously like our fundamentals of last season and obviously the last few seasons, just feels like we're conceding too many soft goals at the minute. Yeah, like lots of positives. Obviously, it's a team who have consistently been fighting for the playoffs in the Championship, and we more than matched. And yeah, it's just one of disappointment really, because the game was in such a balance, and it just felt like such a soft goal, the second one to concede. Yeah,
we were just chatting, George, and saying that before that second goal went in for West Brom, Wrexham looked on top. You looked in control in the second half. You were having more possession. A couple of good opportunities had been created. Hadn't managed to take them. But then as soon as that second went in, the pattern of the game changed again. Is this kind of early evidence for you all that missing chances at this level is going to be ever more painful than perhaps the levels you've come through?
Yeah, obviously. For the start of the second half, you could tell the momentum was coming on our side, and so many times last season we would then turn that into a goal and end up winning the game, whereas you can just tell from the first two games the quality of the opposition and the ability to punish not taking your chances or mistakes that have gone up a level. So that's for us to just be ruthless, a little bit more ruthless in both boxes, and yeah, get back to what we've prided ourselves on really.
I think last season, George, I'm right in saying that we didn't lose 2 league matches back to back, and obviously that's how this season has started. It was always going to be a season about learning and adapting and adjusting. But as you sit back now after 2 games, is there a sense in the dressing room of missed opportunity, or perhaps of realism that what this level's going to take to be successful? No,
I think from the first 2 games it showed that we've obviously gone away to Southampton and played against a real strong West Brom team, and we could have easily won both games. So I think we can't get too down, obviously, about the results. Of course, we're disappointed, and we know the results have got to come quickly. But I don't think it's a sort of situation where we're panicking too much. We just know that it's small details that are the difference at the minute, and it's for us to make sure that we work on them in training this week, and then when we come back out next Saturday, that we put them into practice really, and really get that first not just performance but result to get us off the mark and get us going in the league.
Do you have a sense of how long it might take for so many new players to really integrate and for you all to understand each other's rhythms, or is that impossible to predict?
I'd say you can already see that there's relationships building on the pitch, and you can see that some players are fitting in really well. It's just like what I said, when you've got the momentum in a game, you've got to take the chances. We're obviously 1-1, and the game's in the balance, and we've conceded at such a pivotal time that it's hard to react from that. But we know it's not like we're coming out and we've lost 4-0 at Southampton, and it's really small, close details that are the difference from us not just drawing the game but winning the game. So we're not a million miles away. We just know that there's a couple of things we need to be better at.
Perfect. Well, George, thank you so much for making time to join us on Matchday Live post-match. Really enjoy it, and we'll see you for Sheffield Wednesday next Saturday.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Wrexham midfielder George Dobson giving his reflections on this afternoon's 3-2 defeat to West Brom, and Phil Parkinson's come straight to see us. Thank you, Phil, for making the time. What are your overall emotions right now?
Play between both boxes was decent. Structure in our possession was fine, but the game's won or lost in both boxes, and the softness of the goals we conceded today is not good enough. Giving players too much space in around the 18-yard box for the first one. both of the second and third goals can be easily dealt with. And the start of the second half, I thought we were the team looked like going to go and win the game. They looked tired, and we were pinning them in. Obviously, they always offered a danger on the counter attack, but we can't give teams a leg up like we did there today. That was too easy, and we've got to eradicate that softness. Of course, we've come up with division, we know that, but still, if a team's going to score, they've got to earn that goal, and those goals just went in the back of the net too easy from my point of view today.
The start of the second half, certainly kind of 45 to minute 70, looked like your team were very much on the front foot there. Did you feel that when that second goal went in, that kind of shifted the dynamic of the game?
Yeah, I feel they looked tired, and we played with a lot more belief. We had some great periods in the first half, but we just said at half time, come on, we've got to believe in ourselves more, and we did that, and we looked like the team was going to go and win the game. We've had some good moments, probably didn't work the keeper enough, and like I said, some of the play was good. Tactically, the structure of everything, dealing with their movement was fine, but we can't be happy with the goals we conceded. We started the season, conceded 3 on Tuesday, 2 at Southampton. The free kick's a great goal, and at the moment we've got to take away that softness in and around the penalty box, because that's what's cost us today.
Will that be your focus in training this week, the tightening up defensively?
I think it's got to be, but it's decision making in and around that area that we know space doesn't score, men score, and we need to go and engage quicker, and we just need to look at that, because I think the lads have got to take belief in the general play from today, and we've had chances to get goals in the game, and we look like a team who can score, but 3-3, 3-2, we've had a start to a season like this before in League Two, and we eradicated it then, and we'll do the same again.
Just an update, if that's okay, on Josh Windass from his coming off with injury. What's the latest on Josh?
Yeah, I haven't spoke to Josh or the physio yet, so I'll do that in a minute.
Okay. And how do you think Nathan Broadhead went in his first opportunity to wear red?
Yeah, no, he's good. He looks bright. He had a great chance to score. It's always difficult when you come in, but I thought he linked the play well for us. His movement, his quality is good. And obviously there's more to come from him.
Perfect. Well, Phil, thanks very much for making time. Wrexham manager Phil Parkinson giving his reflections to us on Matchday Live after his side's 3-2 defeat this afternoon to West Bromwich Albion. Andy and Mia are back alongside me again. Phil, obviously downcast, Mia, from that defeat, and I got the sense that although when I asked him about his overriding emotion, he didn't give me an answer to that frustration was perhaps the prevailing one, because he felt the goals conceded were so avoidable.
Yeah, and I think that'll be the sort of general feeling around Wrexham, tonight and over probably the next few days. But for me, that shows that he knows that we can be competing against teams like this and getting points as well. I think George Dobson touched on it. The performances, we've got aspects now. Now the next part is results and getting points on the board, because as we look at it at the moment, it's not a pretty sight. But I think the things you can take away is Southampton away and West Brom at home. I mean, it doesn't start much tougher than that, really, does it? I know every game in this league, as the old saying goes, is super hard, but the standards have gone up, and for us, I think we've put a good account out for ourselves, and hopefully we can now take the positives, like I say, into next week and work on it. But there's a lot to work on as well, equally. So I think Phil Parkinson honest and real about that.
Well, I think it's his resilience of our team last year that got us promoted. Really, was we were second least conceded in the league behind Birmingham, and we were so hard to penetrate, with bodies on the line, we stopped balls going in our net pretty much, was a big part of our play, and we had nicked one the other end, and we had that Fletcher feeling, didn't we, when he was coming on in games. Just I think the goals that we've conceded so far are just a little bit soft, and the first one especially, I think for me, would be the one out of all three that he's in 5 or 6 yards of space in our box with just one simple cutback. All three centre halves have dropped in. Our sitting centre mid hasn't picked him up on his run in, and he's just ghosted into the box and been able to finish, and it's just a little bit too simple, really, and he'll be disappointed that we let it in these goals that are preventable.
Yeah, I mean, Phil made that point, didn't he, about how the season started in League One with that crazy Milton Keynes Dons game at the start of that season, and he's got a proven record, hasn't he, of fixing the faults as and when they arise. So it's early, but of course, played 2, lost 2. It's not territory we're used to, is it, over the last few years?
No, and like you say, I think that's one of his biggest sort of assets. He's calm, you know. He's clever. He knows his players. Obviously, the ones who've been here a long time anyway. And you know, like people say, when the new ones have come in, he does that character test. You know, he's a very switched on man. I think some people, you know, sort of rule him out with that sometimes and underestimate the sort of skills he has off pitch. Do you know what I mean? In terms of his man management, and you know, those for me are equally as important as the decisions he makes sort of for those on pitch. So you know, I have no doubt in him, and I'm hopefully, obviously, a lot of people in this stadium don't either, and that trust is going to be there for many months and hopefully years to come.
He's got a bit of credit in the bank, hasn't he?
I think a little. Let's have a look at the other matches that have taken place at 12:30 today, because there were two other matches which also started early this afternoon, and those matches were played at the same time as Wrexham's, and we can hopefully bring you those scores now, because we've got full-time results in both of those games. Derby County 3, Coventry City 5. That was a game that the neutral would enjoy at Pride Park. Certainly some defensive issues to sort out for the coaches there, you'd think, after that one, but Coventry flying out the blocks in that Midlands derby, and Norwich City winning by 2-1 at Portsmouth, and Norwich, a team who will be among those expected to run up the front of this season's pack. We've also got obviously a series of 3 o'clock fixtures there this afternoon, games at Blackburn, Bristol City, Millwall and Preston North End, Wrexham's next opposition in the Carabao Cup in around 10 days' time. We'll actually get the chance to see the Lily Whites 3 times between now and the end of the year, both league fixtures taking place in December, as well as that Carabao Cup tie. We'll also take a little look now at the league table, which will make a little bit of painful reading for Wrexham fans, but very early in the season, of course. But Wrexham will no doubt be keen to get themselves moving up that table. Next opportunity to pick up some points next Saturday at home to Sheffield Wednesday. West Brom with back-to-back victories, having won 1-0 against Blackburn Rovers last Saturday, backing that up with the win on the road today. So new manager Ryan Mason off to a flying start with the Baggies. Let's have a look at the bottom. Wrexham, of course, last season got off to a flying start in what ultimately became a successful mission to earn promotion from League One at the first attempt, but clearly sitting there with Derby and Sheffield United in the bottom 3 at this very early stage. Andy, you'd hope that next Saturday would give a good opportunity for Wrexham to get off the mark. Sheffield Wednesday, a club in crisis really at the moment with the battle for ownership. Fans clearly very unhappy about their current owner. Difficulties financially, part of which has benefited Wrexham with the arrival of Josh Windass, but a really good opportunity back here at the Stoke Kairas to get up and running.
Yeah, a good week as well of training for Broadhead and the new players as well, to get a little bit their feet under the table a little bit. But we know from experience here that when your backs are against the wall as a player and you've got all that adversity around you, that players can perform still and still do a good job, and they've still got some real quality players. So it's going to be an interesting one, but one that we, like you say, is a really good opportunity with us at home. Let's get back on the front foot. Let's just make us a little bit more solid to beat, and hopefully we can get some points on the board.
Mia, how do you think the mood will be once today sinks in and the players come back for training in a day or so's time? Will there be a kind of fairly sanguine reflection that says, actually, we've played pretty well for 2 games, don't panic yet, we've been really competitive and it's always going to be an adjustment? Or is there going to be that slightly kind of nervousness around the group that it's played to, lost to, and despite playing well, ultimately they've been beaten in both games?
No, I'd like to think, not yet. On that sort of front, in terms of that nervousness, I think that can quite easily creep in if you sort of get to September with still no points on the board. But back at home on Saturday, like you say, it's a massive opportunity against, probably looking at our first 3, that's the one where you go, right, that's the one where we go for it a bit more and hopefully do get maybe the win, even a point. I think, would be positive at this point. But no, I think, the mood, hopefully, obviously, in the here and now is going to be maybe pretty low in that changing room, I imagine. Obviously, to lose again, that's not something that they've become accustomed to in there, is it? So yeah, I think they'll be disappointed. But like Andy says, a full week, no interruptions now, hopefully. They can just go out there and look back at the mistakes, obviously defensively, and focus in on them and, be ready for it on Saturday.
Let's have a look at the tail of the tape statistically this afternoon as we wrap up events here at the Stoke Kairas and see how the stats played out over the 90 minutes. So possession pretty much balanced between the two sides, who had a similar number of total shots. West Brom with a couple more on target. Clear-cut chances were relatively few and far between. Nathan Broadhead's after half-time, certainly a good one for Wrexham, which he wasn't able to take. All square in the corner count, and just two Wrexham offsides and one for West Brom. We'll have a look at the defensive statistics as well.
Just look how even it is, though. Do you know what I mean? Right down, it's all there within one or two.
A match that says to you it finished 1-1.
That's right.
Not 3-2.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Draw probably reflection of fair result, but they took their opportunities.
Clearance is slightly higher, Mia, for West Brom, but I think as Andy mentions there, the number of clear Wrexham chances is certainly not as high as at Southampton last week.
No, but, you know, I think, again, you can look at it and go, well, we didn't really allow West Brom too many chances. So, you know, it's one of those games where, again, it just comes down to that clinicalness in the box. And listen, I think the Josh Windass one was a massive loss. I thought he started really well. And again, him and Kiefer Moore looked bright, that link up, especially with someone like Lewis O'Brien coming in just behind them as well at times. So that was a real bit of a killer. And you know, like I said, Nathan Broadhead did okay when he came on. I thought he did look bright, but that one's going to take time. And you know, I look at the number of clearances. I wonder how many of them were Nat Phillips in a West Brom shirt, because he did really. I thought he did really well. So him and Campbell both did well. I thought Kiefer Moore, you know, gave him a real challenge, but I think in the end them two probably came out on top.
Yeah, both games as well. We've had a bit of adversity with Moore going off. It's not ideal, you know. Windass going off. It's not perfectly smooth sailing at the moment, and it's again that just adds to the turmoil that you're dealing with as a manager, that you've got to then change your team. Broadhead's gone in with a couple of days training. It's not ideal, you know, it's not ideal circumstances, but these are the things you've got thrown at you and you've got to deal with them. And the Broadhead would definitely be better for playing the 70-60 minutes that he got, and hopefully he'll take that on into the next game.
And with your managerial hat back on, Andy, I guess the challenge for Phil now as he looks at Sheffield Wednesday is, do I take players out who I've seen to be at fault at part this afternoon because I've got lots of options to bring in, which he undoubtedly has, or do I stick with those players because there's still a bedding in period, and the more they play and the more they play together, the communication improves, the rhythm improves, the system improves. So it's a bit of a stick or twist moment.
Yeah, but I think you look at that in training a little bit and see how their body language is, how their demeanours are around the place as well. You can sort of get a sense if somebody's down a little bit because they're a bit more quiet or a bit more reserved, etc. But I'm sure all that group have been there and done it. Do you know what I mean? And they know that they're not far off. They're not very far away, and they've given West Brom and Southampton decent games in the past 2 weeks. So I think that I would stick with what I believe in, and that's the team that I felt would win the game today. So I believe in them, and it will show them as well that I believe in them, if that makes sense. I showed them my backing, so I don't think it will be very far from the 11 again next week.
Mia, where are you on that one?
Yeah, I agree, to be honest. I think, you know, someone like maybe Longman coming in and obviously gets another assist, but I think Ryan Barnett again from the off was very good, and you know, you could sort of see the changes for West Brom probably helped them more than our changes helped us. So yeah, I think obviously if Windass is a serious one, then that's where Nathan Broadhead does come in. But apart from that, for me, I can't see no changes, to be honest with you. I think midfield again today, maybe in moments we've sort of let West Brom get on top of us in terms of obviously the goals. But you know, George Dobson, I thought he was superb today. I really did. I thought he really stood out, and he's another one where you're sort of thinking when the signings have come in, is he someone who's not going to see as many minutes? But he started the season ever so well.
Yeah, absolutely. Mia, Andy, thank you very much indeed this afternoon. We will see you. It's good to have you back. It's good to have you back. And congratulations again for completing the 300 metres hurdles, or whatever we might call it, around the Stoke Kairas.
No way. Not having that.
Coping well on a complex day at the stadium. We'll see you next Saturday at 3 o'clock. So when Wrexham got promoted in the summer to the Championship, we knew we were heading into a league that was unforgiving, challenging big clubs and experienced players. Hard lessons are being learnt quickly. Today there were one or two defensively to take from the performance, as Wrexham on 2 occasions absolutely had to pay the price. From all of us here at the Stoke Kairas, we'll see you next Saturday. Diolch a wylio. Good afternoon.